Okay, moving on to Raymond Mountford asks, "Hi Dave, seeing as you've gone mainly towards Kickstarter, have you ever considered trying something other than comics? I ask because of the upcoming TMNT remaster. As a kid, I had a ton of the 3,000 figures that Eastman and Laird milked out of the book and TV show. I retroactively feel cheated that we never got a Cerebus, possibly the only character to not transfer to plastic. Anyways, was there a reason why we didn't get a Cerebus action figure back in the day? And have you considered trying your hand at doing one now?" Okay, let's answer the second part first. No, I'm not an action figure kind of guy. Worked on one because there was a guy who was a big action figure fan and wanted to do the Cerebus action figure, and would I draw all of the stuff that he would need, front, side, back, top, bottom, all the rest of it. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay. As long as you know and I know, everybody else can figure it out as they go along. It only got as far as a figure, and it's like, well, okay, it's plastic sculpting stuff. What do they call that? 3D plastic.
3D printing.
3D printing. That's what it is. And you would really have to find somebody who knew how to do actual action figures and knew how to do, print those on the plastic printer in pieces, and then have the pieces fit together, and find somebody interested enough in painting all of those little pieces gray and painting the eyes on Cerebus. And by the time you're getting into that, it's like you've got a really, really expensive action figure. Not something that I would rule out as a possibility, but somebody else would have to do all of the heavy lifting on it, because as Dave Sim is to hardcovers, Dave Sim is to action figures. So that's the way that goes. Go ahead.
My personal problem with the figure was that it was going to be, I think, 6 inches tall, and I'm like, all right, it's a little big for a Cerebus, but we can all live with that. And then it came out with, no, it's going to be 9 inches, and I'm like, Cerebus is 3 feet tall. If the toy is 9 inches, that means he's in scale with action figures that are 18 inches, and they don't make a lot of those. And the ones they do make, like they do make an 18-inch Wolverine figure in the brown costume, so you could cut the claws off and have a roach if you really wanted it. But that's it. That's the only figure you could have besides Cerebus, because it's like
They have an 18-inch Wolverine?
They have an 18-inch. Yeah. There was an 18. A little while they did Spider-Man, Wolverine, I think Deadpool, and maybe 3 or 4 other heroes, and they're expensive collector editions.
I'll bet you. How much did they cost? Like ballpark.
I think it was like $50-$60.
Right.
When the third Spider-Man movie came out, they came up with the Ultimate Spider-Man, because at the time in toys, they kept putting more and more articulation in, so instead of just moving at the shoulders and the hips and the neck like original old school toys did, now they were giving them elbows, then they were giving them wrists, and when the third Spider-Man came out, there was one that had individually articulated fingers that, you could have the hand shooting webs, or you could have the hand in a fist, or you could, have them grabbing something. Well, they came out with the Ultimate Spider-Man that was 18 inches tall, and each knuckle was articulated. And I saw it in the store and went, there's no kid on the planet who wants this toy. Right. Dads want the toy. Dads were like, why couldn't I get this toy in 1978?
Right. even as you're describing it, I'm going, I have no interest in action figures, but I definitely like to see one of those, and as soon as I saw it, then I'd want to own it. Go ahead.
And so the problem I had was it's going to be a 9-inch Cerebus, and I'm like, I have an original 1984-85 Wolverine figure that's like 3.5, 4 inches tall. I want a Cerebus that's in scale with that.
Right.
And there's other people that all their toys are 6 inches, so they're going to want a 3-inch Cerebus. And then there's the guys that have, G.I. Joes that are 12 inches. And I'm going, and this is the point where Dave's eyes glaze over and he's like, I don't even want one, and you're asking me for 7.
Right. And you want them all to be perfect and just be little proportionate versions of each other. Yeah, it's a nightmarish ball of wax. Like I say, it's not something that I would completely rule out, but it is. It's definitely not front burner for me. Okay, moving on. I personally would love to see a couple of these. Cerebus the Goat, Lord Julius, Jaka. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. It's like all you'd have to do is find a action figure goat of some kind online. I'm sure they must make action figure barnyard animals, and we'll make it Lord Julius's goat. All we have to do is come up with a really cool logo and bubble pack, and there you go. It's the Lord Julius's goat action figure with maybe points of articulation or 0 points of articulation. It's just a goat figure. But trust us, it's the one from high society. The possibilities are endless. Mind you, it's probably best to stop before you get to underwater grappling or battle armor Rick. I would agree with that. He puts in parentheses, who would even need a grappling hook underwater? Swim, damn it. That's a very good, astute point. Maybe after I'm dead. Within 50 years of Dave Sim's death, they were already producing underwater grappling hook, battle armor Rick, and the Jaka that goes with it. We got all the way through that. Let's double back to, was there a reason why we didn't get a Cerebus action figure back in the day when Kevin and Peter were doing everything in their book that wasn't nailed down as an action figure? And the answer to that is at either the Toronto Summit or the Northampton Summit, we had not a commitment, but an agreement in principle that Playmate Toys would do a Cerebus action figure. Unfortunately, the way I was picturing it was, this will be cool. It's just, we'll just get a bunch of them done. Let's say like 20 or 30 or something, and each of us can have one. Because it's not, it's not going to be part of the Turtles universe, apart from Turtles number 8. And we don't want to be confusing people on that point. But it'd be kind of cool to have a Cerebus action figure. I had my Turtles action figure that Kevin gave me for the longest time, where it was just, this is really cool. I know the guy who does this comic, and here's an action figure from it. Unfortunately, Pete Laird basically just went to whoever their contact guy was at Playmate Toys and said, here, this guy, Cerebus the Aardvark, get him to do, we're going to do an action figure of it. So you take care of all the details. And the guy turned out to be one of those real, we're so excited to be working with you kind of things. And, as you can see, there's this paperwork that you would have to sign off on, and then there's boilerplate we own this in perpetuity, and you'll never get this back, and don't even think about doing your own action figure. And it's like, got through this, whatever it was, phone conversation or whatever, and then called Peter and went, Peter, this guy is like just a real jerk, a real, Pink Floyd, have a cigar type. And Peter goes, they're all like that. And it's like I went, okay, well, I didn't know that. See, there's something you don't know about until you have a property like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'll take Peter's word for it. They're all like that. So I just said, well, okay, in that case, I really don't want to do this. And I think Peter took that personally. Definitely, it drove a wedge between myself and Peter that he thought this was really cool, that he agreed to do a Cerebus figure and was going to make it part of the Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line. This will be really great. It's like I slapped him in the face, which I can see that that's the way he took it, and I understand that that's how he took it. That's definitely not how I intended it. I intended it as, hey, you can get Playmates to do whatever you want. I mean, they're making so much money off of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by whenever this was, 1988, 1989. Just tell them, okay, you're going to make a bunch of these Cerebus figures for the guys, and I don't want any back talk. And one of them goes to this guy, one of them goes to that guy. And that was how I pictured it, was that, okay, you're Pete Laird or you're Kevin Eastman. If you want the Playmates to do a Playmate toy, ask how high on the way up, because if we stop authorizing these figures, you're going to be missing out on tons of money that you would otherwise be getting. So that's the unhappy story in that situation. When I did Spore and the Spore Wagon, I was hoping Todd would see that in the comic book and go, I've got to make that. I've got to make the Spore figure, and I've got to make the Spore Wagon, and same sort of deal. We'll never be able to sell these to anybody, but I got to at least make a few dozen of these for myself and a few friends, and one of them for Sims as well. Sims will get one of them. And that didn't happen. So that's the bottom line on that story. To the best of my